Hello everyone, welcome to my book reviews for January, and I did get through 4 books, and I'm also going to do like a 2-in-1 video. I'm going to do a book haul here, and these are from like thrift stores and Amazon, and mostly Book Outlet. I got quite a few, so I won't go into live detail about any of them, but I am trying to go on a slight no-buy, well, not a no-buy, a smaller buy. I've only made one purchase from Book Outlet in January, which is very good for me. So I'm just trying to chill out with the book hauls and that. So this will probably be the last really big haul for a little while, unless my willpower crumbles, which it probably will, but we'll see anyhow. So I will go through the 4 books that I read in January, and yeah, I don't know what it was. I went on vacation. Usually I get at least 2 books read during vacation, but we went with another couple. I think we were just busy socializing, so I never got a lot of reading done then. And yeah, I don't know what it was, but anyway. The first one was The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrell. And I believe this was her debut novel. Not quite sure, but I think it was. And I did read The Once and Future Witches by her, and I gave it like a 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed this one. It took me quite a while to get into it. So it's just basically about this young girl who is living with this wealthy gentleman, and her mother died, I think, when she was quite young, and then her father's going around the world and collecting all these artifacts and items and that for this wealthy gentleman who displays all these items in his home and that, and then she finds kind of a secret doorway to this other world, and it kind of follows this young girl, and then it follows this other woman, so it kind of goes back and forth. It beautifully written. I love the prose. It just took me about 100 pages to finally really start enjoying it. The first 100 pages was just very slow, and I don't mind slow burn books, but this one, just nothing really happened. I kept thinking, okay, it's got to get going here. It's got to get going. So that first 100 pages was a struggle. And at one point I was not going to DNF it, but I was going to set it aside because it took me a few days just to get through that first 100 pages. And then finally things started happening and I started enjoying it a lot more. But yeah, it's just those first 100 pages were a real struggle. And yeah, it was, I loved her writing style. I loved the way, the prose. And yeah, when it finally started going, it was so much better. And so I think this is like kind of an homage to books, I guess, in a way. Everyone can interpret differently, but all these people, some of these people are able to go into these different worlds and live there, and they're quite happy there because it's much better than what they left behind. And she mentions a lot of about books and that, and about how people can escape, even temporarily, their lives by just diving into a book and submerging themselves into a storyline. So it's a little bit of that. So I really do love the message of this book, and the prose, like I said, was beautiful. I love her writing style. Yeah, it just could have been certainly edited a little bit better, but I did really enjoy The Once and Future Witches, and she has another one, I think Starling House, I purchased. So yeah, I think this one just had to be edited a little bit more, but it was a beautiful book. And then the next book was by Deanna Raybourn, and Unexpected Peril, and this is the Veronica Speedwell mystery books. Yeah, I love this series. I just don't get tired of it. I think the 9th novel just came out. I did purchase the 8th one. But I mean, I'm even willing to, and I don't say this often, but willing to reread these books at some point in time because I just absolutely love them. It just, these two naturalist, Veronica and Stoker. They have quite a history, and there's a lot of sexual tension and great banter and wit and humor in these books. There is very good mysteries, and yeah, I always take this on vacation. When I went down to Mexico earlier in January, I always grab a Veronica Speedwell because I don't want something depressing when I'm on vacation. And yeah, this one, I just absolutely love these books. Definitely, you know, 5-star reads for me. This one I would give, I don't know, it's hard to rate. I would give the first 100 pages about a 2.5 and the rest of the book about 3.75 stars. But yeah, I always love those books. This is Thin Air, a ghost story by Michelle Paver. And this actually takes place on, in the Himalayas, on the, and I've heard it pronounced so many different ways, the Kanchenjunga mountain in the Himalayas. I don't know. This follows about 4 Englishmen who are going to try to be the first to reach the summit of this mountain, and it takes place in 1935. So of course the not like nowadays, still extremely dangerous. I don't know why people do this, but anyway, but back in 1935, they didn't have the equipment and the proper clothing and other things like that. They really had to depend on the Sherpas. I mean, the Sherpas are the unsung heroes of the mountaineering world. I mean, these people, all you hear about is the people who reach the summit. That's who you hear about. You never hear about the names of the Sherpas and that, who actually did the vast majority of the work. And if it wasn't for them, there would not be mountaineering. But anyway, that aside, yeah, it was kind of a spooky ghost story. So because of their equipment, and even nowadays, there's such a thing as called altitude sickness, where you just so deprived of oxygen that you make the bad decisions, you make the wrong decisions, and one little mistake on a mountain could kill you. And sometimes you start seeing things, and so this one character, it's only from his point of view, which makes it kind of interesting. You don't get the point of views of the others, which would have really made things quite complex. So he starts seeing people that aren't there, so you're thinking, is he seeing like a ghost of past mountaineers, or is he seeing just hallucinations from the oxygen deprivation and that sort of thing? So yeah, it was very interesting. I knew a few things about altitude sickness and mountaineering and how just very, very difficult it is, but this was so atmospheric, and you really felt like you were right there experiencing the cold and the overwhelming fatigue of these mountaineers. And yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I give that a 4-star. And then this is The Sanatorium by Sarah Pierce. So this did get a lot of mixed reviews on Goodreads. Some people just butchered this novel. Other people loved it. I kind of fall in between. I don't think it was as bad as some of the reviews, but everyone's different, right? Everyone responds differently to a story. So this woman, she's on leave for PTSD as a police officer, and she is invited with her boyfriend to go to this hotel that used to be a sanatorium. They fixed it all up, and her brother, who she's sort of estranged from, is having an engagement party, and she gets there, and fairly soon after, the brother's fiance disappears, and they don't think too much of it. At the time, they're worried, but they figure, well, she's got, like, what could happen? She's got to be somewhere. This hotel is very isolated, and then another murder occurs, and she kind of has to get over her PTSD and start investigating and that sort of thing. And then an avalanche happens, and they're even more isolated. The police can't come, etc., etc. So you do have to suspend your belief at times with this story. Very, very short chapters. That's what I like about thrillers. Those very short stories, each chapter ends in a cliffhanger, so you just want to keep reading and reading. So the pacing was quite good. You did delve into the reason that the brother and sister are estranged. There's just a lot of things that are happening, and at the end there's just a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, I mean, there was some issues in that, but I mean, generally I did enjoy it. I give this about 3.5 stars or something. Yeah, it was just a fun, isolated thriller read for me. So that is the 4 books, that I read in January, and presently I'm reading the 2nd series in the Richard Osman Thursday Murder Club mystery. So I really enjoyed the first one. Actually, I'm only maybe 100 pages or so into this one, and I think I'm even enjoying it even more. I think it's even funnier than the first one. So these stories take place in this like retirement village, and there's 4 friends who are all in their 70s, and they get together on Thursday night to solve unsolved murders and that. So one's a retired nurse, one's a retired, like she's like a retired spy, and there's a retired psychiatrist, and I can't remember what Ron did now. I hit a blank on what Ron did. But anyway, it's so funny, but it's very serious parts about some of the difficulties of aging and seeing your friends pass away and dealing with illnesses at that age. They're all just fun characters, and I'm really, really enjoying this. I can definitely see this being a 5-star. Alrighty, so let me just rearrange the new books here that I got, and we'll get started on the haul. Okay, I have them organized, so I'm not going to go through every single book because there's quite a few of them, but I'll go through the ones that I'm really quite excited about. And, alrighty, so, we'll start with this one. This is by C.J. Cook, and I did read a previous novel of hers called The Lighthouse Witches, which I really enjoyed, and this one looks so creepy and atmospheric, and this is a haunting in the Arctic. And this actually, I think it's like a dual timeline. So initially it takes place in 1901 on a whaling ship, and it's going through the North Sea, and a woman awakens. She's been attacked and dragged there against her will. It's just her and the crew, and they're all owed something only she can give them. And then 1973, the ship is found still drifting across the ocean. It's deserted. There's one body on board that they can find. His face and feet have been mutilated, and his cabin locked from the inside, and everyone else has vanished. And then this urban explorer starts going to, I think it's near Iceland, and the final resting place of the wreck, and she's determined to figure out the ship's secrets. So that sounds very creepy and atmospheric. A perfect winter read. And then this one is called The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. And I do like those isolated house kind of gothic mysteries and that. They are very creepy. And this place takes place, I think, in the 1860s. Elsbeth takes the position of a nanny to a family on this remote Scottish island. And the young girl she's looking after hasn't spoken since her twin brother passed away, and also the nanny disappeared around the same time. So she takes on this job, and she starts hearing things, seeing things. So yeah, I just love those gothic, isolated, creepy house kind of novels. And this one is actually written by 4 different authors, and it's called The Deadly Hours. So it's part of it's written by Susanna Kersley, C.S. Harris, Annalee Huber. So I've read Susanna Kersley and Annalee Huber. Susanna Kersley does those dual timeline kind of stories. Annalee Huber has done the Lady Darby series, which I really enjoy. Christine Trent, I'm not sure about. I haven't read any of hers. C.S. Harris does some mysteries also. So this actually follows this gold watch throughout the centuries, and the one time period is 1733 Italy, one time period is Edinburgh in 1831, another time period is 1870 London, and each of these authors has written about this gold watch and what happens, what circumstances are surrounding this gold watch, and all the different people in this specific time period are sort of wrapped around this gold watch. So yeah, I thought that was kind of an interesting concept. Each author has done a different time period as they follow this gold watch throughout the years and what circumstances happen around this particular gold watch. And this is No Strangers Here by Carleen O'Connor. And I don't know if you can see, but if you tip the book, you can see these little raindrops coming down there. I don't know if that's picking up or not. So this takes place in the County Kerry in Ireland, and it follows an Irish vet. And there is a body found near this small village, and they believe he's been murdered. So Cormac O'Brien, now I think this is the first book in the series. He's a detective, and he is dispatched to this village to find out who murdered this gentleman. And yeah, it sounds really interesting. I love murder mysteries that take place in the small villages in like England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, etc. So yeah, that sounded really, really good. And this is The Night Travelers by Armando Lucas Carrera. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful cover. So this sounds like it follows different generations of women in the family. The first time period is Berlin in 1931, then there's Havana in 1959, and then Berlin in 1988. So I'm not going to read the entire synopsis. It's quite long, but it does sound quite interesting. And these two books are the first books in a series, and I absolutely love the covers. This is the first one, Murder on Sea, and this is Murder on the Cliff. These are a Nina Martin murder mystery. So Nina Martin is a retired actress, and she used to play a TV sleuth back in the day, and then she moved to this small Dorset village on the coast, and there is a murder, and she helps this detective who's struggling with some issues, help solve these murders and that. So they're not overly long books, but yeah, they look like fun, and I just absolutely love those covers. And oh, these two books, I've been looking and looking for these. They're actually kind of hard to find. So Thrift Books had the second book in the series. Not Thrift Books, Book Outlet had the second book in the series for a really good price, so I nabbed it, and then I was able to find the first book on Thrift Books. And this is The Girl in His Shadow by Audrey Blake, and the second one is A Surgeon's Daughter, and I am so looking forward to these. I love history. These are medical history books, which I just absolutely love. So Nora is an orphan, and she is raised by this surgeon, and she becomes his assistant. She does want to become a doctor herself, but it's quite restrictive back then. So it follows her life, and then this is a sequel. So I am super excited to finally get my hands on these two books. And this one I picked up on Amazon, Salt and Broom by Sharon Lynn Fisher. So this sounds like another very creepy, gothic, isolated manor kind of book. This actually is based on Jane Eyre. The character is actually called Jane Eyre, it's just spelled differently. But this has a witchy twist to it. So this woman is sent to this, oh, it's hard to read, the black against the gray here. So she is sent to this isolated manor, and the master of the manor is very reclusive. He's called her in to help him out because there's something not right about the house. There's something going on, and he needs her assistance in that. But yeah, it just sounds so good. I love that cover. So atmospheric. And then a nice, sometimes I really do like a nice, just a cozy book. Legends Lattes, that was just a nice, cozy, feel-good book. And I've heard good things about this one by Heather Fawcett, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. So Emily Wilde's a scholar and a researcher, and she goes to this village to research these fairies, and she's going to write a book in that. And I've heard some really great things about this. It's just a nice warm hug. And this is by Julia Haberlin, and this is Night Will Find You. So this sounded like a very interesting concept. So this woman, her name's Vivian, when she was 10, she was the daughter of a psychic, and when she was 10 years old, she predicted, she saved a boy's life by making an impossible prediction. And then when she grows older, she kind of wants to leave what happened in the past, forget about all these visions she's having, so she becomes like an astrophysicist and moves away. But the boy whose life she saved becomes a cop, and there's this kind of a high-profile case of a kidnapped girl, and he asks for her assistance, and she's quite reluctant. So yeah, that sounded like an interesting plot there. And this is a another history book that's written by 3 different authors, Ariel Lawhon, Christina McMorris, and Susan Meisner. I do love Susan Meisner's books. I haven't read the other 2 authors, When We Had Wings. So this actually takes place during World War II, and it follows World War II nurses, and I believe it's when they're in the Philippines. So again, history, medical history, following these nurses during the war, and yeah, it was just a horrific time. So yeah, looking forward to that one. And another history book from World War I this time is Canary Girls by Jennifer Cheverny. So during World War I, all the men were sent off to the war, so all the women had to take these factory jobs and make the clothing and the supplies and the weapons, etc. for the front lines. So this follows a group of women who are working at this factory, and they become quite ill because the ingredients they're using in these bombs, I think they're making bombs or TNT, it causes some illness, and the reason they're called Canary Girls is one of the side effects of whatever they were inhaling turned their skin quite this vivid yellow. So that's why they were called the Canary Girls. So it follows this group who had to deal with the illness and their lives and dealing with the war, etc. And this is The Three Dahlias by Katie Watson. So this is a murder mystery. So there is an author who back in the 1930s used to write murder mysteries similar to Agatha Christie. And then in the forthcoming years, these 3 different actresses each played the sort of main character of these books, like the investigator. And so there's a bit of a rivalry going on with these 3 actresses. So they end up going to the house of the woman who used to write these books, and I believe there's a murder or something goes on, and they're trying to solve it. But I've heard some of my couple of booktubers I really like to watch, they really enjoy this one. And this is Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent, and I do have one book of hers called Lying in Wait. I kind of set that aside. I hope to get to it this month. But this is really interesting book. So this young girl is neurodivergent, so I'm not sure what exactly she has, but when she was quite young, she did something quite disturbing. She didn't see anything wrong with it, but it was quite disturbing. So she is adopted by a psychiatrist when she's 7 years old. She can't remember anything that happened before that. And then when she's 43, her past becomes headline news again, and then she kind of starts remembering what actually happened. And she's kind of out in the spotlight again. So there's that one. Alrighty, and then bring these ones over. This is Primrose Path by Rebecca Griffiths. And so Sarah escaped a man in her past who abducted and held her for, I'm just seeing how much time I got here, for 11 days. So her case became quite notorious, and then 17 years later she finds out that he is going to be released from jail. So she puts on a new identity and she escapes to rural Wales. But when she gets to the village, she finds out that someone's watching her and there's some creepy stuff going on. And When I Was 10 by Fiona Cummins. So it's been 20 years since the most infamous double killing of the modern age sparked headlines across the globe. Now, one of the two Carter daughters is finally going to break her silence, and a childhood best friend is a journalist, and she wants to get to the bottom of what actually happened. The three women, the two sisters and the journalist, are forced to confront the devastating truth about what happened that terrible night. And this is The Gods of Gotham by Lindsay Fay, and I believe this is the first in the series, a Timothy Wilde novel. So this takes place in the 1840s. So New York City has formed its first police force, and that's the same time that the Great Famine hit Ireland, and many people were immigrating from Ireland. Though if you read the history of that, it shouldn't have been a famine. It could have been avoided, but that's a whole different story. So it follows Timothy Wilde, who becomes a police officer during the very first police force in New York City. So yeah, that sounds quite interesting because when they first set it up, I'm sure there wasn't a lot of rules and regulations, and they did what they wanted. But yeah, it sounds really good. And this is by Christina Henry, Good Girls Don't Die. I did read Near the Bone by Christina Henry and really enjoyed that. Really interesting isolated thriller. So this one follows three different women, and they find themselves trapped inside stories that they didn't know that were their own. So the first woman, Celia, wakes up in a house she doesn't recognize. There's a little girl who says she's her daughter and a man who claims to be her husband. But yeah, she goes, I don't know you. And in the alley is supposed to have a fun getaway with her friend, with her friends. And then her friend's boyfriend unexpectedly drives the group to a remote cabin in the woods. No one else believes Allie, but she is sure that something about this trip is very wrong. And then there's Maggie, who wants to be home with her daughter. And she's in a dangerous situation, doesn't know who put her there or why. So anyway, there's three women, three different stories, but somehow I guess they're connected in the end there. And this is The Nature of Magic by Marian Womack. Now I think it did get some mixed reviews, but I thought it was an interesting concept. So it takes place in 1902. Helena has started her own detective agency. And their first case takes place in Paris. So her friend and they go to Paris to solve this mystery. So yeah, mixed reviews, but I thought it was just female detectives. I thought that was pretty neat. And this is The Witching Tide by Margaret Meyer. And this takes place in 1645 in East Anglia, Britain. And Martha is a midwife and a healer. And she's in her 40s. She's had a peaceful life in this village. And then witch finders start coming around. And yeah, things go downhill from there. So many midwives and healers were kind of used as scapegoats. If something went wrong, they were used as scapegoats, and they were accused of being a witch, and men were too also. But yeah, it was just a horrible period of time, and all these innocent people were murdered for absolutely no reason. And this is a Telephone Box Library by Rachel Lucas. So a few months back, I read another story that had the red phone booth that was turned into a library in this small village, and I really like that one. It's just a nice cozy read. So this is similar. This takes place in the Cotswolds. The perfect retreat for a stressed out teacher. She finds the cottage, and then she opens up this little library. So yeah, nice cozy read. And this is The Sea Captain's Wife by Beth Powning. So this this woman she's a new wife living on the Bay of Fundy in the 1860s, and she's a little bit bored, so she wants to go with her husband sailing, but he really discourages it because it's dangerous and that sort of thing. So anyway, her and her young daughter end up going on this sea voyage with the husband, and they go to different countries, different continents. And now, from the reviews, it sounds like it's not a lighthearted one. It's pretty brutal at times, and what it's really truly like sailing at that time. This is The House of Whispers by Anna Mazzola. I love that cover. And takes place in Rome in 1938, and the world is on the brink of war. So this woman enters the house of a widower to become his new wife. On the outside, the forces of fascism are accelerating, but at her new home, Eva fears that something else is at work, whispering in the walls and leaving mysterious marks on her husband's young daughter, and etc., etc. So yeah, creepy little read there. This is the Radcliffe Ladies Reading Club by Julia Bryan Thomas. So this takes place in Massachusetts in 1955, and Alice is escaped halfway across the country and found herself in front of a derelict building, which she on the streets of Cambridge, and she makes it into a bookshop. And then there is 4 women who are newly independent college women, and that just follows their struggles. And then a member of the group finds herself shattered. Everything they know about themselves will be called into question. So it just follows this group of women in this bookshop. And yeah, I thought that was, I do love bookshop books, as long as they focus on the bookshops. Sometimes they don't. And this is A Ghost Ship by Kate Moss. So this is, I think this is the 3rd book in the series. I think the first book was Labyrinth, which I read, and then I read the 2nd book. So this one, I think the first book took place in France in the 1200s, and there was some religious persecution by the Catholic Church against this other, anyways, a lot of political stuff going on in that, and I did enjoy those reads. So this is, I think it follows the same family, but it's like 100 years since the last novel, so hopefully it can be kind of in standalone kind of novel. But it just follows this ship in 1621, and for months it has hunted pirates to liberate those enslaved. And so yeah, I just thought I would continue the series, because I enjoyed the other books there. So, and this is The Little Wartime Library by Kate Thompson. So this takes place in London in 1944, and during the air raids on London and other areas in Britain, people went into the underground tunnels and basically lived there for their safety. So I never read a book about those underground tunnels and what life was like. You know, the stress, the fear, just the claustrophobia of living in those tunnels while you're getting bombed and that. So this follows Clara, who is a librarian. And yeah, she turns this area of a tube station into the country's only underground library. Down here, a secret community thrives with thousands of bunk beds, a nursery, a cafe, a theater, offering shelter and escape from the bombs and that. So Alrighty, and then this is The Baker's Secret by Stephen Kiernan, which I found in a thrift store. And this, it takes place in 1942, or begins in 1940, and the takes place in France. And yeah, the Germans have invaded France, and it follows Emmanuel, who is helping or working with this baker and that, and just what her life is like when the Nazis have taken over France. And this is by Susanna Kersley, The Vanished Days. So she usually does the dual timelines, but this sounds like this just takes place during the 1700s. So yeah, I was excited to get this one because I went to Scotland in September and I cannot stop thinking about the trip. It's my best trip ever. I just absolutely loved it. So this takes place during the Jacobite Revolution, and how Bonnie Prince Charles wanted to take back the throne of England, and how people were so divided. They had the ones that wanted the British monarchy to remain in place, and the other people wanted Bonnie Prince Charles to take the throne back. And this follows a young widow and just her life, and it sounds like there's a lot of politics in here, and just how people were able to, or what their lives were like during this Jacobite uprising. So yeah, takes place in the Scottish Highlands, and so yeah, excited to read that one. And this is by Preston and Child, who are two authors. And this is Dead Mountain, and they've written so many books together and separately, and I've read them all. I really do enjoy these books. Now, the first sort of series followed a New York detective and a FBI agent named Aloysius Pendergrast, and he is one of my favorite characters of all time in fiction. Just love that guy. And this is sort of a spin-off series. So one of the characters in one of those stories, her name is Nora Kelly, and she became an FBI agent, and this spin-off series follows her. Now, I prefer the Aloysius Pendergrast novels that revolved around him, because he is just such a fascinating character. Nora Kelly, yeah, she just kind of drives me crazy at times, but I love the mystery, I love the atmosphere. Some of those the other series is starting to get a little really out there. It's just, you have to really suspend your belief at this point, but they're fun books, and I've always just enjoyed them. And this is A Good House for Children by Kate Collins, another kind of spooky book. So this young couple and their child move out of the city. They want to live in the country, and they end up purchasing this old Georgian house on the Dorset Cliffs. And yeah, things start to happen, and not in a good way. So it says 4 decades earlier, she moves into the same house as live-in nanny to a grieving family. So I guess she already knows about this house. Anyway, sounds spooky. Now this one I've wanted for a while, and when Book Outlet had their $8 sale or $8.49 sale, I nabbed it. And this is Ink Blood SisterScribe by Emma Torres. And this is the large print edition, so man, I don't even need my bifocals for this one. But I just love the concept of this one. So, two estranged half-sisters are guarding their family's library of magical books. So for generations, this particular family has guarded a collection of these rare books. And when they're read, they unlock some magical abilities. All magic comes with a price. And for years, the sisters have been separated. And yeah, it just sounds so good. And then Wild as a Witch by Rachel Griffin. I did read The Nature of Witches and enjoyed that one. These are YA fiction. And I can't really remember what this was about. can't remember. Enemies to lovers. After a night of magic turned deadly, Iris vows to never let another person learn she's a witch. It doesn't matter that the Witches' Council found her innocent. But anyway, I really enjoyed the first one, so got that one. Alrighty. I think that's about it. I'm not going to go over all the rest of these because this video is too long anyhow. The last one I'll do is by Chris Brookmeyer, and it's The Cut. Now this was an interesting synopsis. So this woman was a very talented special effects makeup artist. Her talent is to create realistic scenes of bloody violence. One day, she wakes to find her lover dead in her bed. 25 years later, her sentence for murder served. Millie is ready to give up on her broken life. And then together they begin to discover that all was not as it seemed on that fateful night. Oh, sounds intriguing. Okay, that's it. That's enough. I don't want this to be too long, but yeah, I kind of picked out the ones that I'm really super stoked to read. So yeah, I better get at it. So everyone, I hope you have a great reading month in February, and everyone take care, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.